Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Kevin Cage back with another crypto update, and we're going to go over the need-to-know info in a world of a bunch of noise out there. So let's go over the most important points that we've seen over the past few days. So first up, obviously, we have Bitcoin, great to see, back over 80K. Now right now, it looks like we are back testing this orange moving average. This is the 8-month EMA. Now a high-level rule of thumb, and this is on the monthly time frame, is whenever we see these full monthly candle bodies below this orange moving average, I consider the trend to be bearish. So we can see past bear markets when we're below this level, we're back testing, never closing a full monthly candle body above that level, we're in a bearish trend. Now, when we flip it and actually begin running up and holding that level, we are bullish. So we're going to keep watching this. We do have global liquidity, this yellow moving average going up. There's a lot going on, obviously, geopolitically with the Strait of Hormuz, so we're going to keep monitoring. We also have Bitcoin dominance at 61%. And remember, we want to see this crash because these crashes were the last two alt seasons, just out of nowhere as Bitcoin dominance crashes and the Bitcoin US dollar price chart is making higher highs. So once again, not financial advice. I'm not making a call that it's happening tomorrow, but that is the macro structure, the big picture view that we want to see for another alt season. This going down. So right now it is rising. The higher it goes, the bigger the fall. And this was 2017, we had the huge crash and ultimate parabolic, and then we saw the same thing in 21. We have yet to see another official alt season based on this in years. So when I'm saying that I consider the trend to be bearish, that's on the monthly time frame, just looking at past cycles when we are below this orange moving average. Obviously on the monthly, you can make the argument that we are making higher highs and higher lows and we are in an uptrend. I understand that as well, but I'm just looking for the setup for past alt seasons. Now, we can see that even during this last backtest or this wick, for Bitcoin, we can see back in February, we came down and backtested basically the monthly candle body of the previous cycle top. So right now, we are in fact above that level today. And of course, if you go down to like the daily time frame, you can easily make the argument that yes, the daily time frame is bullish, as we can see. Or more so, I guess, the 4-hour instead of just looking like a bit of a retracement, as we can see. Now, we have a lot of things going on with the company Ripple, but let's kick things off with one of the biggest pieces of news that we saw come out 2 days ago. So we have the DTCC, the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, a massive organization. Now they're working with 50 different financial firms. We can see a Ripple Prime down below. So they're basically helping design how stocks, ETFs, treasuries are going to be moving across chain. It is coming on chain. And just for a little perspective to understand how large this group is today, they custody over $114 trillion, the DTCC. And in this blog post, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically they have this DTC's tokenization service with plans to launch this October. Now keep in mind, even last year in April, we had Generation Infinity. You can learn more at genfinity.io. They found a patent by the DTCC for tokenizing assets, specifically mentioning these alts. Or networks, I should say. So building this to be compatible with these networks. So this is not just private. This is not just public, this is hybrid to get the benefits of both worlds. My voice is still going to be going in and out since the pulmonary embolism, but I don't feel like re-recording. So anyways, we have the patent and we can see that today it is still pending. And you can check it out yourselves, so this is right on genfinity.io. I also retweeted it, specifically mentioning these networks. So the DTCC, one of the largest organizations that moves a huge sum of securities globally today, is incorporating or wanting to build to be interoperable with these crypto networks. And you can read through the blog yourself, just follow _DTCC on Twitter, or X. So what's the big deal about this? Well, obviously this is massive, helping how a variety of assets, securities, you name it, are going to be moving between chains. Now, of these groups, there are definitely a few competitors that we have to keep our eye on compared to Ripple, but notice that Ripple is uniquely positioned because we have 3 pieces live. We have number 1, a live public layer network, the XRP ledger. We have a regulated stablecoin, the Ripple US dollar, and we have a prime broker doing $3 trillion per year in annual volume, Ripple Prime. And like I said, there are definitely large, viable competitors in this space. We have Circle, we know USDC, a massive market cap. They are building a layer 1, which is ARC, but right now it is just in public testnet, so mainnet should be coming by the end of the year, so they don't even have a public network live yet, and they do not have a prime broker. And then also JP Morgan, obviously with JP Morgan Prime Services, a massive organization, but they do not have their own public layer 1. They do have Connexus, but that is private. And they also have a deposit token that is on Coinbase's layer 2, which is Base, but this is not a stablecoin. So we have other groups involved. We have Ondo Finance and a bunch of crypto and digital asset firms, but notice that Ripple specifically has these 3 layers. And these 3 layers are fully regulated and live. Alright, next up, super quick, going over the most important bill that could go through for the crypto asset class to date. So we have the Clarity Act by Fortune approaching the finish line, and then we also have another blog by Disruption Banking. In thinking about regulations, is the next bull run going to be regulatory based? Are we waiting for a regulatory catalyst? We even have right here, the South Carolina Republican says he's hoping to hold a markup of the bill in May and bring clarity to the Senate floor in June or July. So that would be absolutely amazing to get the final vote, the Senate voting on the bill in June or July, literally the next couple months. And as we know, a lot of the bill was actually stalled or, held back since January due to a bunch of arguments or disagreements about stablecoin yield. Having clarity for digital assets is the first step. I mean, there are so many other steps in terms of regulating for custody, yield, RWAs, and new assets, agentic AI, but this would be the biggest bill to go through to date. And I think all of this is really well timed considering the DTC's tokenization service to launch this October. So we're talking about regulatory frameworks and institutional rails, all aiming for this year. Alright, next up, before we dive into something really interesting for Ripple related to Korea and Japan. We have Troll now available on iTrust. What I really like about what they've added to their dashboard, when you go up to markets and click all assets, we can see the crypto assets, we have precious metals and any new metals on the way, and then we have stocks and ETFs coming soon. And taking it back to the Clarity Act, think about what this would mean. We're going to have all types of digital assets in the years ahead. Talking about RWAs, lending, yield, DeFi, you name it. And you can get started for free on iTrustCapital in the link in the video description and the first link in my link tree. And this is where I've had my Roth IRA for over 6 years. With over 90 plus crypto assets available 24/7 at your fingertips right in a mobile app. Not to mention tax-free growth inside of a Roth IRA. Alright, now let's dive in. So we're going to start off with Japan and then we're going to go into Korea. So right here we have this Rakuten wallet. Users in Japan can now convert Rakuten points into XRP. They can spot trade right in the app and they can spend across 5 million merchant locations. So they have 44 million pay users, $23 billion in loyalty points are now redeemable for XRP. And this is one of the largest retail deployments of XRP as a payment method to date. Now, something even more interesting that tied into Japan is this blog by Yahoo Finance last month. Referring to XRP Tokyo 2026, this conference that we had in April. So we had Japanese banks actually share live data, and cross-border payments using XRP settled 60% cheaper than SWIFT, and not to mention being transferred in under 4 seconds, instead of a full day or a few days. So this isn't me just making stuff up, this is actually from legitimate banks. This isn't on a white paper, this is banks looking at real rails and showing the math on stage. And we can also see Japanese investors putting over $21 billion into XRP from July of 24 to June of 25. Making Japan XRP's largest national market, so we always have to make sure that we're highlighting Japan. And shout out to Crypto Eddie, because I know she's on top of it. So just to emphasize on what to remember, these were Japanese financial institutions presenting live pilot data, showing specifically for cross-border payments using XRP, not the Ripple US dollar, using the actual native neutral asset that has no counterparty risk. XRP settled 60% cheaper than SWIFT in under 4 seconds. And those are the facts. Alright, I got a lot to go over now related to Korea. I'm going to be all over the place, but let's finish up strong because there is a lot to go over. And pardon the noise if you guys hear the jet in the background, that is the pros and cons of living by an airport. So I'll go over this in the next video with Ripple and Kyobo, a life insurance partner. They are based in Korea to pioneer Korea's first tokenized government bond settlements on blockchain. So we'll cover that in the next video. What I want to go over and what I'm speculating with Upbit, the largest South Korea exchange, is this news. So we have the company Ripple partnering with Kbank to deploy scalable digital asset wallet infrastructure right through Ripple custody. So this Kbank is Korea's first internet-only bank. And if you know the exchange Upbit, this Kbank is the exclusive banking partner. So remember that Kbank that is partnered with Ripple is the exclusive banking partner for Upbit, the largest exchange in South Korea. Now we have this Kbank, this internet-only bank in Korea, is going to be deploying through Ripple custody. And even the CEO says right here, this partnership marks a turning point in advancing our stablecoin-based remittance capabilities, so advancing stablecoin payments. Now recently we know that the Ripple US dollar was listed on Coin1. That is definitely a large South Korean exchange, but it isn't the biggest. When you go to CoinMarketCap and you can just type in Upbit and look at the actual exchange, we have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then we have XRP, the third asset in terms of volume. Now yesterday the volume was lower, but since Bitcoin pumped a little bit, we can see the volume is over $116 million. So this is pulling a lot of volume. The Ripple US dollar is already live on Coin1, another South Korean exchange, and even looking at Upbit, the crypto exchange, we can see that USDT is available, we have USDC, and the next logical step would be listing the Ripple US dollar. We had Kbank, the main Upbit banking partner, deploying Ripple custody and pushing stablecoin remittance. So what do you think gets added next? So that's my belief, that we see the Ripple US dollar listed on Upbit, the largest South Korean exchange. Now, I've seen some, different information out there if Upbit is trying to launch their own stablecoin or they might have vested interests, but if they don't, then we definitely see the Ripple US dollar being listed. Now, related to Korea, they had some type of act or legislation going through that's expected to pass this year, basically discussing a Korean won peg stablecoin as a national priority. So that could be really interesting, but either way, I mean, connecting to more US dollar stablecoins like the Ripple US dollar would make sense. And even taking it a step further, if Korea wants its own stablecoin infrastructure, imagine Ripple, with now Ripple custody and Kbank, really just putting themselves in that position to potentially provide it, and that would be really cool. But we'll see if their main focus is the Korean won and maybe connecting to US dollar denominated stablecoins later. But I just wanted to rant about that a little bit because that makes sense, and you know what, let's finish up with this. The big difference between the Ripple US dollar and USDC. So to go over a lot of the similarities going on, keep in mind the USDC or Circle's market cap for the stablecoin is probably higher than this. This was yesterday. So USDC's market cap, 78 billion. Versus the Ripple US dollar is right at $1.5 billion, so a massive difference in terms of market cap. But what's really crazy, and thanks to regulation and everything moving a little more forward than it used to, is the Ripple US dollar, it launched and it put this entire stack, or regulatory stack, together in under 18 months. It hasn't even been around for 18 months or a year and a half. And USDC has been around since like 2018, so 7+ years. And today, they both have the OCC Conditional Trust Bank Charter. They are Genius Act compliant. So the Genius Act, a federal framework for stablecoins, check. We need to see that Clarity Act. They are both DFSA or DFSA, Dubai approved, and then both MiCA compliant in the European Union, whether that be through France with that one license for Circle, or Luxembourg, the full license approved for Ripple. And they are both NYDFS regulated. Without a doubt, the two most legitimate and well-regulated stablecoins in the space. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. We're going to dive into even more in the next one. A huge thank you to all that hit the like button. Let me know your thoughts down below for the algorithm, and until next time. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash the like button and let me know your thoughts down below. You can find all links to my crypto resources, including tools for charting, trading bots, wallets, portfolio trackers, and exclusive discounts right in my link tree in the video description. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.